Can't believe it, but today is my oldest Caleb's 3rd birthday. Sometimes I feel like he's been with us forever, and sometimes it feels like I was just leaving the hospital with him knowing nothing. And I thought now might be a good time to share his birth story and really even going back to the pregnancy, talking about that. Personally, I love hearing other people's birth stories. There's just something about it, being able to share that with other moms, whether they went through something really similar or something completely different. There's just that way you kind of instantly bond with another woman when you hear their birth story, because the main common ground is that they carried that baby, they loved that baby, and they went through the process to get that baby born, whatever that may be. So let's jump right in. When we moved into our house in June of 2010, we knew that pretty soon after that we wanted to start trying to have a baby. So literally the month that we moved in was when my birth control ran out. So we decided, hey, let's just go with it. And we weren't really trying for those first couple of months. Just kind of, whatever happens. I mean, we were really busy with the house, and I was really busy with work and everything. And but then as the months went by, I learned about a book called Taking Charge of Your Fertility. And I would recommend that book to any woman, whether she is a teenager or really any woman who really wants to be in touch with their body and know what their body is doing, whether you're trying to get pregnant or trying to not get pregnant or whatever, menopause, everything. And it explained how the woman's body works in a very practical way. Now obviously I know how it works and everything, but what I wanted to do at that point was to figure out a way to naturally get pregnant without having to, go into any sort of fertility drugs or anything like that. I wanted to listen to my body and know my body. Now, if you know me, you know that I work part-time as a health coach, and I've been coaching for 9 years now. So I went into it already a bit of a health and science nerd. So I really enjoyed learning about it anyway. And I learned just different things to watch for in my body. And if you're familiar with the whole process, you know what I'm talking about. If you're not, I would encourage you to look into Taking Charge of Your Fertility. There's a website that goes along with it. Excellent, excellent book. I highly recommend it. So I started charting my cycles, and we tried based on that charting. And we started, I think, charting in maybe August, and it got to be October, and I was like, ugh, really, it's still not working. I thought I was broken, which is ridiculous because it was only a couple of months and I had just come up off of birth control. But in November, it finally happened, and I took a pregnancy test the morning before Thanksgiving. My parents were actually in town, and so I had to do everything very secretly. And that morning I knew it was probably a little bit early to test, but I did anyway. And it was just one of those cheapo little pregnancy tests from Amazon. By the way, I can link them below, but the ovulation tests and the pregnancy tests that you can get on Amazon.com are so dirt cheap, and they gave me results faster than any of the other expensive brands. So I'll link those below. But I peed in the little cup, stuck the test in there, laid it down on the counter, and then got in the shower. took my shower, doing my thing, and then I got out expecting to see, you know, nothing because I figured it was too early. And there were 2 lines, y'all. It was really faint, but obviously there. My heart was like racing. I couldn't believe that there was a baby inside of me, a little person. It was just mind-blowing. But of course, like any woman like me, I took about 4 of them. And Mike had actually taken all of my expensive, like the first response pregnancy tests, and locked them up in his office, in his closet, because he knew that I was kind of crazy and I would use them up when it was maybe too early, and I was just wasting money by doing that. Then that night, I asked Mike if he could unlock the closet and give me the box of pregnancy tests. And he's just kind of like, okay. And I went into our bedroom, and my mom was actually sitting in here in my office, which is right across from our bedroom. And he goes, "Pee straight." And I was all, shh. I didn't want anyone else to get a clue what was happening. So I took the pregnancy test. Of course, it came back positive. So excited. And so that night as we were going to bed, and he didn't ask anything about it, but that night as we were going to bed, I handed him a little card that said, "You did it." It wasn't a pregnancy announcement card. It was just like a "good job, you did it" card. And I had the little pregnancy test inside. So that's how I told him. We were thrilled. We didn't tell anybody. I went through all of Thanksgiving. I felt fine. Went through all of Thanksgiving, not telling anybody. It was killing me to not tell anybody. So when it came Christmas time, that's when we told our families. We drove down to Texas, as we do a lot of times for Christmas, and told all of my family there. And about 2 weeks before Christmas, my mom had been diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And so we knew that was a really, really good time to break some great news. We knew that they needed it, my parents especially. And then I let Facebook know, meaning the world know, in January. And I let everyone know about 10 weeks along because everything was going well. We had seen a heartbeat, and I was already starting to show. During my pregnancy, I had very little sickness. I think I threw up once, and I like dry heaved once. I felt amazing. I was starving the whole time, and so I ate. I ate a lot. And if you know me, you know I eat like a bird. I just don't eat a lot at a time. And so this was a huge, huge change for me. I was starving all the time. I get up in the middle of the night. Mike jokes about I would keep cereal boxes, like 4 or 5 cereal boxes next to the bed so I could just reach over and get food and go back to sleep. But I felt really good. I remember thinking, if pregnancy is this good, man, we could have a bunch of kids. Like, this is easy. And it was really easy for a long time. I felt great. I had decent energy. When the second trimester hit, I had sciatica like, wow, okay. It was really bad. I'd be pushing the grocery cart in the store, just walking along, minding my own business, and my leg would just completely give out. And it got to be really scary. So Mike started to go to the grocery store with me just as support. So I went on with my pregnancy. Things were going well. The sciatica was there, but literally the last day of the second trimester was the last day of the sciatica. It just miraculously disappeared. Just as suddenly as it came on, it went away. And so I was thrilled. At 32 weeks, it was a Sunday afternoon, and Mike and I went out to the movies. It was a pretty hot day, but we went to the movies, and I remember sitting in the movie trying to cross my legs, but my legs felt just puffy. And I was even thinking back to that morning at church. I had a pen in my hand, and I was trying to write, but it's like I couldn't grip the pen very well because my fingers felt like little sausages. I was so swollen. There's a FedEx truck at my street. Am I getting a goodie? Oh, it's driving away. Mwah, mwah. After the movie, I asked Mike, I said, would it be okay with you if we just stopped by a CVS to check my blood pressure? And he kind of looked at me like, hmm? And I said, let me just go in. I feel like it's probably high because I'm really swollen and puffy. And so I went in there, and just so you know, you guys, my normal blood pressure at all of my checks was like 110/70. I mean, really low. It's even lower now, but it was real low and normal, below normal. And when I went to that CVS, it was 138/83. Now, technically that's not hypertension. Anything over 140/90 or 140/90 and above is considered hypertension. So I was, on the diastolic number, I was 7 points away. On the systolic, I was 2 points away from being at that number. And I didn't really care at that moment that it was so close to 140/90. I was worried because that is like 20 points higher, almost 30 points higher than I usually am. So I knew something wasn't right. I called the doctor anyway, and he said if I don't have any of those symptoms, don't worry about it. And I had an appointment later that week. When I went for my appointment later that week, my blood pressure was fine. At 37 weeks, we had already gone on our baby moon. We had bought pretty much everything we needed to buy. We were feeling pretty good about this baby coming really anytime. And at that time, it was a nighttime. I remember it started around 9. I was getting Braxton Hicks contractions, and I was getting them about every 8 minutes for 8 straight hours. Now, 8 minutes between contractions is not huge, but I had my little contraction app on my phone. I did it all night long. I think I slept 20 minutes the whole night because I was constantly tracking these contractions. It was clockwork. The contractions were coming every 8 minutes. It scared me. I thought, I don't think I'm in labor because I'm not having any pain, but Braxton Hicks contractions are not supposed to be regular like this. So I wasn't having any pain, so I decided to just wait until Mike woke up. So I just waited in our room. Of course, I was up all night until Mike's alarm went off, and he rolled out of bed, and I said, honey, I've kind of been having contractions all night. And he's like, what? And so I said, I called the doctor, and I had called the doctor, and they said, you can either come into the office and just wait until we have someone there to see you. I was like, no. Or you can go to triage. And I really didn't want to go to labor and delivery. I was just thinking, oh, it's probably nothing. But we went into labor and delivery anyway. And this was about 6:30 in the morning. And they checked me. I was not dilated. I was effaced a little bit, but they weren't worried about anything. And my blood pressure sitting up and even like at an angle was too high. It was above 140/90. And then when I would lay down, it would go back to like 120/80. They said, we're going to put you on bed rest for now. We want to do a 24-hour urine test, which means you take home this really fancy orange jug and this little thing that sits in the toilet called a hat, because it kind of looks like a hat. And you pee into that, dump your pee in the bucket, or I'm sorry, in the jug, and then store it in the fridge. You do that for 24 hours. And then the next day you bring the jug back and they analyze it. And basically what they're doing is they're looking for protein in your urine. And if there is elevated protein in your urine, then that can signal preeclampsia, which can be a life-threatening condition, in pregnant women. I did the 24-hour urine test and it came back fine, but he said, you know what we're gonna do? We're just gonna induce you at 39 weeks and I want you on bed rest for the next 2 weeks. And at that point, I was like, hey, that's cool. So I went on short-term disability with my work, so I didn't have to work anymore. It was amazing. And I sat around and I did crossword puzzles. I watched 24 on DVD. I took naps. It was fabulous. However, that day that I went on bed rest, we had we had a very important thing scheduled. That was the same day we were supposed to meet up with our pediatrician. So that morning at 6, we went into the hospital and I was told to be on bed rest. And that afternoon, this is a whole separate story. We ended up buying a minivan. We traded in our Explorer that was half dead and got a minivan, and then drove that minivan back to the hospital to meet the pediatrician. So it was a very full day. I enjoyed my quiet time, knowing that that was probably the last quiet time I would get for a long time, and I was right. And then at 39 weeks, we went in to be induced. And that's where this story picks up in my next video, where I'll talk all about Caleb's birth.